I'm going to put this out, but I'm not going to go too far down a rabbit hole with this deal because it could be another one of those things where Russia's talking a lot of crap, which they don't talk crap, they talk a lot of crap. Anyway, there was a Russian, I'll post a link in the bottom, or not the link, but actually the name, and you can Google it or whatever you want to do, or look for, there may be something on YouTube, I don't know. But, you know, I read like a lot of different articles, and then I kind of like filter out as many as a giddy garbage as I could possibly can, and I try to just boil it down to the nuts and bolts. That's what I'm saying. Well, it's about Yellowstone and the alleged use of scalar weapons. Now, I'm going to get into some of what that is. I don't even know what the word means exactly. I don't think anybody does, but it's let me first just say this. There was a Russian general who was talking about magnetic abnormalities in the North American continent, especially around the Yellowstone area. And then, you know, I'm looking at other stories, and they're talking about the Marine Harrier crashed in a neighborhood in California, was taken down by Russian scalar weapons. I'm thinking, yeah, sure. The Harriers aren't very, there's a lot of the Harriers are problems, you know, so I don't think it had anything to do with it. But what I'm looking at, though, is a little common sense. You can see, like, Vladimir Putin with his deal, how he's pretty aggressive. And I know a lot of Americans aren't buying that he's aggressive. You know, they're like fans of Russia Today or Russian Terrorist Network Today. And they just don't see it, but whatever. But, you know, he's going to be playing his card as hard as he can in a shrewd fashion. He's not stupid. But, you know, what a better way to have you know, a catastrophic problem in the United States and have, say, Yellowstone blow up. Now, I think there's a lot of natural forces that's been going on in Yellowstone for a number of years, but if you can accentuate it, why not? Now, I'm going to point this, I'll point to a link on the bottom of this video, maybe have it in the video itself. But if you just even want to look on YouTube about Zhirinovsky bragging that Russia created the tsunami and earthquake in Japan in 2012 or 11, I don't even remember exactly what year that was. I guess that was in 2012. I don't remember now, to tell you the truth. But in the spring, I know it was in the springtime, but he was bragging that the Russians actually caused that, and they have these weapons that can do all this type of stuff. Now, I do know one thing about with Russia. You know, there's a big brag. Well, pretty much everybody in Russia likes to say they're an engineer. And they got a lot of bright people, a lot of engineers, a lot of physicists, a lot of mathematicians. You know, if they figured out a way to use some high-end technology that Tesla talked about way back, and they do have some of that technology, because all the Tesla papers, I think they went over to Serbian Museum, the museum in Serbia. I think Russia's got copies of all that stuff. And, you know, I'm sure they figured it out. Even if you heard about the story about where Tesla put a little black box on the side of a building, and he caused the building to shake. And there was one he had in his lab that he couldn't get it to shut off, and it was causing the buildings in the neighborhood to shake. And he smashed it with a hammer to stop it. It's like you could set off frequencies that can cause things to just keep moving. It's almost like the same principle. I'll just put it in simplistic terms. I used to wonder why they used to have that command when you're marching, break time. You know, when you're marching in step, and you can break time. You know, because you don't want to be in step. That's because when soldiers walked across the bridge, they could set off harmonic frequencies that could collapse the bridge by walking in time, you know. So they would break step. There's actual command for that when they're marching. You can break step so you don't set off those harmonic frequencies. They found this out. Now, that's a big jump to go to saying you can cause an earthquake, but Zhirinovsky did brag about it. Now, there's this Russian general that's talking about problems, magnetic problems in North America, and it's kind of going along the same time as Yellowstone. Now, I know I've actually read some of on Tom Bearden's website about the Russians are trying to use scalar weapons against the United States. And if you read this stuff, you're just like, holy smokes. I mean, it just gets beyond belief. But I don't want to like say it's totally out of the realm of possibility because, you know, dumbass Zhirinovsky just flat out told us that Russia used that against Japan. Now, I don't know. I don't know. You know, supposedly there's elements in Japan that want to get vengeance for what the U.S. did to Nagasaki and Hiroshima, too. Supposedly that type of stuff. But looking at how Vladimir Putin is playing his cards, yeah, this would be a pretty shrewd way to screw things up. Pretty shrewd. You know, the only thing I would think is, if a rock gets flying up in the air, maybe it'll land on Hillary Clinton's head, and Bill Clinton will be free to collect the insurance money. I don't like that lady. Bitch. Anyway. Oh, man. That's going to be something. But, you know, who the hell knows between now and 2016 what the hell is going to happen. But it could be another one of these giddy rumor things. But I do know for factual information that the land in Yellowstone has been rising and rising and rising. They're saying there's something under there it's like a huge area that's really huge. Like something that would make Mount St. Helens look like nothing is rising. And if they say if that, nobody really knows, right? But I started thinking, maybe there is a possibility that they do have some weapons out there that can actually help push this along a little faster. Not to say that they could dial it in and just say, here, hit a button, create an earthquake, but you never know. They might have something that can help it along a little bit faster. And what a better way to get at your enemy, because I know Russia is considered the United States their enemy. There's no doubt about that. If you look at all the slanted news coming out of Russia Terrorist Network, TL Television Network. I call them Russian terrorists. RT, Russian terrorists, instead of Russian television. They're terrorists, man. And they bring out some stuff on the West that's true, but they never bring out stuff on their guys, and their guys are just as bad or worse, So, the one thing I'm pointing out here is that, what a great plan if you don't want to, you want to have a hands-off thing where, hey, I didn't do nothing, that was nature, to do something like this. And I don't know, but, I'll just bring it back a couple notches, like Zhirinovsky said. I'll point to the link again on YouTube where he says, there's various copies of the video where he talked about, he said Russia had caused the earthquake and tsunami in Japan. And now you got this Russian general talking about, yeah, we noticed there's magnetic abnormalities in North America, especially in the Yellowstone area. Now, of course, the giddy minds will start saying that the Harrier jump jet that crashed in California was due to the Russians, and I'm like, yeah, right. Harrier jump jets have had a lot of accidents, they've been, I don't know, they got their pluses and minuses. But the one thing I just want to point out with this deal is, hey, you never know, something could be coming up. Not that I'm going to really dwell upon it, but I think it's, I don't like to say it's credible because I know it's going to happen or something, but it's a little bit more than a giddy rumor. It's, if you start taking it pieces, and you also want to look at, how Vladimir Putin is playing his hand. It's like, this would be the perfect setup. If they could actually cause Yellowstone to create a problem that's already a problem and actually push it forward a little bit more, it'd be like, the United States economy would go in total dishevel, wouldn't it? At least for a little while, right? But I just want to state this. Say it happens. Say it happens. The best thing to do is just, if something happens, man. It isn't necessarily the end of the world. It's going to be the end of the world for people that are over there, but it ain't going to be the end of the United States. Just want to put that out here because, I don't know, man. I don't know. I almost don't want to put this out here, but it's got a little more credibility than it would seem. It would seem. And I'll point to in the information box the Russian general that's talking about these magnetic abnormalities. And if you want to look on Tom Bearden's site, you can find out all kinds of information that supposedly the Russians have with scalar weapons and all this other junk. I don't know. I tend to believe that the Russians in the USA, especially, more than anybody in the world, far beyond even the Chinese or anything like that, have weapons that are almost like you'd think they're space age. I don't think that's just a belief. I've been reading for a number of years on different things, and I think they do have some seriously high-tech weapons. But, I think what's going on, though, is like the New World Order actually is a combination of Russia and the United States, elitist, and Russia's being pushed a little bit more towards to capitalism, and the United States is being pushed more to socialism. But these two forces are the main thrust of the New World Order, the elitist in both sides. I just can't believe that there's a lot of Americans that think, well, that's part of the game too. A lot of Americans think Vladimir Putin is like the savior for, the people in the United States. There's Americans that think that. And what actually was going on, that's actually part of the New World Order scam too. They want you to go to that because it's almost like they want you to reject the system, and they want you to make it look like Russia's the hero, the savior, China's the hero, the savior, and they're not. They're not. All these elitists are in cahoots with each other. But I'm not, this deal with Yellowstone, well, you don't know for sure, because it's like, it could be 100 years from now. But what I'm thinking about is they might have some kind of, they call them scalar weapons, right? That can maybe help this along a lot faster. And I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath on it, because even if it happens soon, it could be 2 or 3 years from now, for all I know. I mean, if it happens soon, I'm not going to think it's going to, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have absolutely no idea. But it's just that the latest thing that's been said is by a Russian general, that there's a lot of magnetic abnormalities in North American continent, especially around Yellowstone. And that's interesting. That's interesting because, they'll be pointing out, look, you got a problem. We don't have nothing to do with it. We're just telling you there's a problem. You know what I mean? Anyway, over and out. I'll point to a little more information if you want to look it up, but I am not going to spread a whole pile of fear about this garbage, because if it happens, maybe next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or whatever, being fearful is non-productive. But I'm putting this out here as something that, it could happen. It may not be BS. It may not be BS. It's got enough solid factoids that, when you try to piece together the mosaic puzzle, that this could be somewhat of a plot besides a natural occurrence. So it's for your information purposes only. But like I said, if something happens, it's fear and the giddy minds are actually worse than the actual event itself. That's a fact. And I am totally disgusted. I just want to leave you with this. I am totally disgusted with the giddy little worm rumors, the fearmongers, and all that kind of crap you see all over that people post in fear all the time. That's one reason I didn't really want to put this out. But I think it's just probably some legitimacy to it. But I get totally disgusted with the fearmongers. I do. I really do. I'm fed up to them. It's like, I like to smack them on the head with a freaking hammer. Tell you the truth, I don't give a shit. I don't like them. Because those kind of people actually create a bigger problem than when a problem occurs. it's like you want to keep an eye out for a potential problem. You don't want to be scared about a potential problem every freaking 2 seconds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, you just want to kind of like catalog it in your brain that, hey, that could be a potential problem. And if something happens, it's like you're not as shocked. Because the whole idea is you're still going to, things could work out one way or the other. So that's just what I want to leave you with. I don't like the fear mongers. I can't stand them, to tell you the truth.